Hello and welcome to another edition, our second edition, in fact, of a brand new podcast, Top Bins Talking Rubbish, the football podcast that talks about every level of the game for every kind of football fan. Alongside me, Anthony Wareing, is Alan Tonge, but not tonight, because tonight, we didn't really want to do this tonight, but we have to. We wanted to do this on Sunday night, after what hopefully would have been, or should have been, England winning a World Cup final. But we're doing this tonight because, unfortunately, as we all know, last night, England's World Cup dream came to an end once again at the hands of Argentina once again. Lots to talk about from the game. Alan Tonge, heartbreaking once again.
Absolutely. That seems to be the same old story, doesn't it? Unfortunately. I don't think there was a lot of fans that were really confident that England were going to win the World Cup pre-tournament. You know, we spoke about this in the first pod, didn't we, in relation to, you know, Tuchel sort of saying that potentially, you know, he's going to leave players out. He raised a few eyebrows with some of his additions. And yeah, unfortunately, for most of the game last night, we seemed to be on the cusp of doing something special. And then, sadly, it all turned on its head, didn't it? And, last 15, 20 minutes turned into a bit of a disaster, unfortunately.
It certainly did. It definitely did. I mean, what we're going to do tonight on this podcast, we're going to talk about the game in the first half, and then we're going to talk about the future and where this leaves England and where this leaves Thomas Tuchel as well. But just on the game, Alan, once again, like we saw 8 years ago against Croatia, like we saw in the final of the Euro 2020 competition, which was played in 2021, England getting off to a great start, leading in the game. And then you're thinking, right, this is going to be our turn, this is going to be our time. And then all of a sudden, in the space of 10 minutes, it flipped on its head. Yeah,
it did. I think first half was poor, wasn't it? It wasn't really a spectacle. I thought the Argentinians were a bit naughty, a bit of the dark arts going on. Plenty of their players surrounding the referee when fouls weren't going the way and things like that, trying to influence decision-making. And, we went in at half-time, and I think the data was really poor, wasn't it? They wanted me hardly, I think there might have been one shot on target for either side in 45 minutes. Come out second half, started not too bad. We looked to be in control, and then, all of a sudden, 55 minutes, we managed to find the breakthrough. Great little bit of play from Morgan Rogers on the right-hand side, super cross. I think the Argentinian fullback was sleeping. He wasn't looking over his shoulder like he should have been. And Anthony Gordon's nipped in, and he's managed to sort of get the ball into the side of the net, hasn't he? And wheeled away in celebration. And you're thinking, could we be heading to the World Cup final first time since 1966?
That is the major turning point of the game, isn't it? England taking the lead. Because all the talk that I've heard and seen and read about since last night, since in the last 24 hours, has been England's response to going a goal up and what they've done next. Topbinspodcast at mail.com if you want to have your say on this, by the way. But for me, Alan, that is the major moment, isn't it? Because what happened next has provoked a lot of discussion, a lot of unhappiness, because it seems to be the major opinion, or the certainly the main opinion is that England have then sat back and gone all too defensive.
Absolutely, and if you look at the semi-final the night before, when Spain went a goal up against France, it was a totally different scenario, wasn't it? They seemed to sort of want to sort of go for the throat, as it were, and try and finish the game off. And I think the first thing that sort of really made me sit back in my chair while I was watching it was, why is he bringing Anthony Gordon off and bringing Conser on? So that was the first concern. That was about 70 minutes, wasn't it? 72 minutes. And then, changed the shape a little bit, went into a back five. And then you're thinking, he's going to try and see this out, isn't it? And I think following that kind of rejuvenated the Argentinian players. And then all of a sudden, it's like pressure's on, isn't it? They're creating chances. A good save from Pickford to keep a header out. McAllister, I thought he should have scored. It looked easier to score. Headed it against the post. Argentinians, as you say, started to throw the kitchen sink at us, unfortunately. And, it went to 85 minutes heartbreakingly, but a good finish from Fernandes on the edge of the box. Maybe we could have closed him down a bit quicker, but a decent strike, Anton. I think once that went in, that equaliser, it was like, can we respond? And I think the nation felt then there was only going to be one outcome. Anton, I don't know how you were feeling whilst you were watching it, but all the momentum was with Argentina at that time, wasn't it?
I mean, what do you do though, Alan? In the heat of the moment, what do? You go a goal up against the world champions. There's about 35, 40 minutes left to play if you include the time that's going to get added on at the end. The defensive setup worked against Mexico. We all have to agree that. It worked when we had 10 men playing against Mexico. But Argentina, Alan, they're a different kettle of fish, aren't they? What? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we can all sit here and we can all say we would have done X, Y, and Z. But you put yourself as Thomas Tuchel in that moment. What on earth do? You're 1-0 up. You're heading towards a semi-final. Do you shore it up or do you go for that second goal? Everybody's now saying we should have gone for the second goal, or the majority of people I've spoken to are saying should have gone for the second goal. But it's never quite that easy, is it, when you've got those decisions to make?
Absolutely, and it's fine margins. So there's a couple of points here. So the first one, I think, is it's ifs and buts and maybes, isn't it? If we'd have managed to get through that, if they'd gone to the back five, 4 in midfield, 1 up top, and we'd have seen that out, he would have been a big hero this morning, Tuchel, wouldn't he? He would have been saying, "Oh, great tactics," and we were sort of like, we formed a real cavalier defensive system that kept the Argies at bay. But unfortunately, I think it proved to be the wrong decision, wasn't it? And I think that I've had a real think about this. That's why he's paid the big bucks, Anthony. That's why these managers at the top level get the top wages that they're on. It's to make the right decisions in the right moment. And I think that in this particular scenario, Tuchel's the one who's conducting the orchestra, isn't he? He's the lead. He's giving the vibe and the feel to all these players. And you tell them what to do and what system you want. And they sort of sat into that. And I think, unfortunately, it backfired. Messi, very, very bright. Do you know what, Ant? The first 45 minutes, I thought to myself, Lionel Messi is like a boxer who's had one fight too many. He's strolling around a little bit. He's not got his little burst that he used to have. Little bits of stuff here and there, but quite pedestrian in the first half. And then all of a sudden, he found a little pocket on the right-hand side, didn't he? And the little maestro, he came to life again. Yeah. And, from all of a sudden, not looking as though he was, going to bow out of the last World Cup that he's going to play in, he come to life and he turned the game on its head. And I suppose that's what genius does at times, doesn't it?
He's a wonderful talent. I'm stating the obvious there, aren't I? Really, he's outstanding. Is it possible? I mean, Thomas Tuchel will never come out after a game, hold his hand up, surely, and admit he's got it wrong. He's got to back his own decisions and back his own choices publicly. But as he now prepares his side for the dignity playoff, I'm calling it, is he sat there maybe thinking to himself, I got it wrong. I regret my decisions. I got it wrong. It wasn't right. Do you honestly believe he'll be sat there now thinking, I should have done X, Y, and Z and not A, B, and C, and maybe all this could have been different?
Yeah, possibly. That's what he decided to do in the moment, didn't he? And, I've heard a lot of people and the pundits talking about the Mexico game, slightly different circumstances. We were down to 10 men in that, weren't we? Yeah. And we had to kind of fight for our lives.
Different opposition, totally. Different opposition. I mean, Argentina, they're not the world champions for nothing, are they? Let's be honest. And they know how to just explode all over you in the right moment, don't they? And to me, that's what they did last night.
Absolutely, Ant. And I read an interesting stat, actually. I think it was from on Twitter called Opta-Joe. And they said that when Anthony Gordon scored in the 55th minute, up until the Martinez winner, at 92 minutes, it was Argentina 88% possession, England 12, and since the goal went in our goal, that was the data. Isn't that incredible? 88-12.
In an international game, when you're a World Cup semi-final, two of the top 4 teams in the world, that is incredible. More to come on this on Top Bins Talking Rubbish. We're going to have a little hydration break, the last one that you'll ever hear of, hopefully, in recent times. But after that, we've got some comments. We'll be reading those out, and we'll look ahead to what happens next for England. Listening to Top Bins Talking Rubbish, where myself, Anthony Wareing and Alan Tonge are discussing all the fallout from last night's World Cup semi-final defeat for England at the hands of Argentina. We've got 1 or 2 comments from your good selves as well. Alan Tonge, do you want to read those out for us?
Yeah, sure. So I was asking for, responses, what people thought yesterday. So we had a few kind of comments that come through on X. So one came through from Nick B. He's at NPBSFC74. I think Nick's a Southampton follower. And he said, tactics after we scored were awful. Subs were WTF. So I'm not going to swear on the pod. I'm going to use that little abbreviation.
Oh, well put.
Players stopped doing the basics, deserve to lose, massive opportunity thrown away. So another one come through from Scooby-Doo. So not the detective dog, but Scooby as in SKOOBYDU. And Scooby-Doo put, fair to say the coach panics after going 1-up against a more than worthy opponent. Brought on defensive players when Argentina brought on attackers. Thomas got it wrong. The annoyance is that he was employed to do what Gareth couldn't. He wasn't supposed to run out of ideas. So thanks for that, Scooby-Doo. One from Neil Hart, an old colleague of mine. I used to play grassroots football with Neil, top lad. And he's at Nidja. And Neil said, needed more ball players, not defenders. Needed more width and length to get higher and close distances. Spain get numbers round the ball and overloads. We play in straight lines. Bang on though, same old, gutted. So that's from Nidja. And then final one from Joan Peroni Namata at Matarains. And Joan put, I think the coach forgot who they were playing against. You don't sit back and defend against Argentina, who will bring the ball to you. It doesn't look like Tuchel learnt about Egypt v Argentina. So thanks to Joan for that sort of feedback on the England-Argentina semi.
Yeah, thanks very much, everybody, for your comments. topbinspodcast@mail.com if you want to get in touch with Top Bins Talking Rubbish, myself, Anthony Wareing and Alan Tonge, and Top Bins TR Pod is our X handle also as well if you want to get in touch with us via social media. I think there's a common theme there, Alan, and it leads us quite nicely into part 2 of this podcast. We're going to discuss now very quickly what happens with England in the future, and I think all those comments that you read out there, pretty much the same theme. They're leading into laying the blame at the manager's door.
Yeah, just that decision, isn't it? I think that's kind of the popular consensus, I think, across the football fans, the media, looking at Thomas Tuchel and his decision-making around 70-odd minutes, going into sort of a back 5-4 in midfield, 1 up top, almost inviting Argentina on. And they're a dangerous side, aren't they? They're a team. What I like about the Argentinians is they can mix it. The street fighters, but they got a bit of magic and class in there as well, haven't they? When they need to produce that. So I always said to you when I do the work with you, Anthony, on BBC Radio, that you got to learn to win games in different ways. And I think Argentina have proved that they're a team full of character. They never give in. They've been on the ropes a little bit in the journey so far. Cape Verde gave them a scare. Egypt gave them a scare. And for most of the game, right up to 85 minutes last night, we looked as though England were going to, sort of giving them a scare and maybe putting them out of the competition. But, they just managed to dig in, didn't they? And that's what champions do. They fight to the end, and turned it around and managed to get the 2-1 win. So yeah, that was kind of the the real dagger in the heart, wasn't it, for England? As you say, and where do they go from now? Well, I don't know what Thomas Tuchel will do in the third, fourth place playoff. Traditionally, you give your fringe players, lads who've not had much football or run, don't you? You know, might see Kobbie Mainoo coming in. You know, I thought that. I don't know what he expected to get out of Rashford last night, and bringing Tony on as well. With it's only 2 or 3 minutes to go, weren't they? And
yeah.
So they'll probably get a run, Anthony, won't they, on Saturday? But
just very quickly, Al, because we are short on time on this one. Unfortunately, it is a very short podcast. This one because of we don't get as much time as we do when we're recording a normal one, but. A lot of the talk seems to be around the manager. Here's a direct question for you, Al. Should the manager pay the price for last night?
Well, I think I read on Sky Sports today. I think Mark Bullingham, the chair of the FA, I think he's publicly come out and backed Tuchel, hasn't he? That's not to say that he wouldn't pull the trigger, because we've seen managers lulled into a false sense of security before. But I think the real disappointment for me, Ant, was Tuchel's appointment was to try and take us that extra yard, wasn't it? So Gareth Southgate had done brilliantly well, managed to get us to a Euros final and get us deep into major competitions, just not quite managed to get it over the line. And this appointment was like, this lad will get it over the line. And the sadness last night's game was almost mimicked and mirrored the Southgate decision, didn't it? And we've paid the price for it, Ant.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go then. That's Top Bins Talking Rubbish, talking about England and the events that took place last night. Sadly, our World Cup dream ends for another 4 years, but do not despair, because the real stuff is back very soon, and Top Bins Talking Rubbish will be all over that as well. Just very quickly before we end here, we have got a couple of games running right now. We've got our score prediction competition running at the moment. You can predict the final score on 90 minutes of 6 of the first round League Cup ties, which gets underway early August. QPR against Millwall, Burton against Blackburn, Leicester against Northampton, Sheffield Wednesday against Bolton, Colchester against Southampton, Plymouth against Exeter. See if you can beat myself and Alan Tonge in predicting the final score on 90 minutes of those games. Also as well, we've got running at the moment is Alan's away end. I don't know if you can remember your 3 clues from the first episode of Top Bins Talking Rubbish, Alan, but very quickly, if you can, if you've still got them, that is. Can you read them out for our listeners?
Yeah. Well, let's have a think. This is testing my memory, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so I think the first clue, if my memory serves me right, was it the ground was built in 1897?
It certainly was.
Yes, so that was clue 1.
Yeah.
Clue 2 was this ground was used for a Euro 96 venue.
Very good memory.
Yeah, and clue 3 was it was originally called the Old Peacock Ground.
Fantastic. There you go. Old age not quite setting in yet for Alan Tonge. He's got a fantastic memory. If you think you know where Alan is and which away end he's in, using those 3 clues which Alan has just given us, then you can email us topbinspodcast@mail.com. You can also get in touch with us on X as well, at topbinstrpod, if you want to have a go at either the score prediction or Alan's away end. That's about it for this special edition of Top Bins Talking Rubbish, which was supposed to be a light-hearted look at football. But thanks to England, they've turned it on its head for us, and we're all depressed. But not to worry, the real stuff starts again soon, and Top Bins Talking Rubbish will be all over that. I can tell you, we'll be doing our EFL preview. We'll also be doing our transfer window special as well as looking ahead to the non-league and the WSL when it all gets underway. Enjoyed it again, Alan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, thanks very much for your company, and we'll see you again next time on Top Bins Talking Rubbish.